Welcome ladies and gents, Chris Andre here. You can find me at Bet Boxing on Twitter, or of course you can subscribe to the channel. Let's talk boxing. A big fight this weekend. Gervonta Tank Davis faces King Ryan Garcia. It's highly anticipated in the sport of boxing. Both men are claiming that they will be the face of boxing if they were to win this fight. This is the technical breakdown and prediction video, so let's get into it. When Ryan Garcia beat Javier Fortuna, I did a review, and in that review I was basically saying how one of the key things he has to fix is a specific error he has if he's to have any chance of beating Tank, and that is how he uses his back foot when he's throwing punches. As you can see from these clips, when he throws punches, whether it's a lead hand or a backhand, that back foot will often swing off the ground, and it can come behind him like in those two clips, or it can swing around to square him on, as is the case there. Now what this does is it lifts your weight distribution to your front foot, so you are off balance. There's nowhere you can go until your back foot lands on the canvas, and when it lands on the canvas, if you're squared on, you're more susceptible to being caught with a big flush shot, and if you're not squared on when it happens, you still need a moment to readjust. So you're in a position where you're wasting a lot of time as to what you're capable of doing, and you're also vulnerable. And against a really good counter puncher who's got power in both hands like Tank Davis, this is a very dangerous situation to be in. But it's not just the back foot, the right foot of Ryan Garcia's that's a potential problem for him. He has an issue with the lead foot positioning, particularly when he's facing a southpaw. You see, what I'm going to talk about now is applicable to when fighters of different stances, so orthodox versus southpaw, face each other. Everybody talks about how you need to get your lead foot on the outside of the opponent's lead foot. This is a very common knowledge. You hear pundits talk about it, commentators, fans, people regurgitate it even if they've never boxed before, so it's no real secret. But one of the things that a lot of people do not talk about is the actual direction that the foot is pointing in. This plays a key technical role. So key, in fact, that when Frank Martin fought Michel Rivera back in December 2022, I did a little breakdown on Twitter. I didn't have time to bring a video back then. I did do the post-fight review video, so you can go and check that out. But it actually led to me picking Frank Martin to win the fight comfortably, and he did indeed go on to win the fight comfortably. In other words, it was the predominant factor that led me to think that Frank Martin was going to beat Michel Rivera. So this is a key thing. Because his foot is pointing, as you can see, towards a 2:30 p.m. sort of angle, rather than pointing at Fortuna, if Fortuna steps around him, let's say he was to throw a backhand and step around him, the rotation of Ryan Garcia, the pivot, the swivel that he would need to do in his feet to turn with Fortuna, takes an added moment of time, and that is quite significant. In fact, let me show you another clip to make it even more clear. Imagine Fortuna was to throw a throwaway shot here, because he's a little bit far out, and then stepped in, and this foot came here. The backhand would land in theory, so the first phase of attack has landed because you've got your lead foot on the outside, and that has lined up your backhand shoulder with his face, so it's traveling through his center line, and then you've taken the outside weaker angle from Ryan. So by the time he then readjusts his feet and swivels those feet around, you can see it requires quite a big adjustment. You're going to be able to land a second phase of attack. So Ryan's in a position here where you can land two shots on him essentially, or two separate attacks before he can even respond. This is quite significant because if it's happening consistently, you're in real trouble. Now, I want to show you some footage, in fact, to reinforce this. First and foremost, on this particular clip, you can see that Ryan Garcia's foot is actually on the inside of Javier Fortuna's. And I just want to go back a second to the previous photos to show you something. The reason I believe Ryan has this direction of his feet is because he's trying to load up with that left hook. When he throws the left hook, he pulls it quite far back, so there's a wide trajectory with it. And the full rotation of it occurs when he essentially turns completely away from the opponent, so he's almost completely side on, so that his hips are facing completely to the side. So his foot, in some regards, isn't going to be facing 2:30 anymore, it'll be facing 3 p.m. He's turned to the side. And that leverage is what enables him to bring about that power. Now, when we look at this particular clip, the first one, you'll see what I'm talking about here. But you'll also see the danger of it if it misses. So he lets go of the hook there. And can you see how he's gone beyond the target? You see that? So look how wide the hook is, and then it goes beyond the target. Now, Fortuna has an outside angle. If that backhand comes to the face here, Ryan Garcia is not in a good position at all, but it's what enables him to throw that left hook. So, okay, it's a trade-off. I understand that. I accept that. But now I also want you to look at this other clip that I'm going to show you. Here's the positioning of their feet. Let's pause it right here for a second. Actually look at Ryan's feet. Look how much they're turned away from him. He's almost turned beyond the point of his waist. He's almost looking backwards as though he's about to look over his shoulder. Now, Fortuna is not in an offensive position here. He's just thinking, I'm just going to get away. But he's actually in range. So imagine Fortuna was thinking like Tank here. And he was to throw a wide hook and then a wide left hook as he seeks to step around Ryan. I want you to keep looking at that lead foot of Ryan Garcia for a moment. Look at that. Did you see that? Let's go back a little bit. Look how it almost looks like his ankle has been twisted. There. Look at that. By the time he then unravels his feet from that moment, and turns, he has to step a big wide step across. Now he's squared on. Again, he's not in a position to defend himself. By the time he lands that foot on the canvas, Fortuna could have let go of a shot again. So imagine this is Tank Davis, and imagine he's landing big shots on Ryan Garcia. This is a problem for Ryan. And if Tank is smart and rotates on the outside of Ryan Garcia, by the time Ryan readjusts, by the time that reset comes, there's going to be moments there for Tank to exploit. But moving on from that, let's talk about some of the athletic gifts that Ryan Garcia has. He's a very reflex-based fighter, and he's very, very good at pulling out of the pocket very quickly. But he breaks rules. He pulls out in straight lines, and he keeps his chin in the air. Now, this is very, very dangerous, and you're taught never to do it. From a technical perspective, it's wrong, so to speak. However, a lot of great fighters have done this. Muhammad Ali used to do this. Vitaly Klitschko would do this. Sometimes Tyson Fury would even do it. But Tyson's a bit more astute with it in that he'll put out a stiff arm defense as well. In other words, he'll keep his arm left out long as he steps out to create an additional barrier in case you do follow him out. But theoretically, you're leaving an opportunity for an opponent to follow you out. So if he's very sudden and he's got fast feet and he's able to jump in more quickly than you're able to step out, he could potentially cause you problems. But it's easier said than done because Ryan is so fast. And you have to understand, though, as you're backing out that way, even if Ryan's able to hide his head and he leans back, you're leaving your body there available. And one of the things Tank is very, very good at is getting that lead foot on the outside of the opponent's lead foot in a sudden way and then really dig that backhand into the body. It's a very punishing shot and it can really slow down a fighter. And in that last example there, you see how he's shaped up to go to the body and he actually goes upstairs. The reason I included that clip in this is to show you that by going to the body, he's not only causing damage with this shot, but he's making you forget about the head. He's making you start to be concerned about the body. There it is. You see how Barrios's arms dropped and instead he goes upstairs. So it potentially sets up the opportunity for a knockout shot later on as well. However, that's not to say Ryan Garcia is in serious trouble here necessarily, because Tank Davis also has certain limitations, and that is that he often overreaches and overcommits as he shoots that backhand. And so if he can't close the range because Ryan's too quick, you can see how Tank can get punished there. He's also the taller man, Ryan Garcia. He's got the range on Tank Davis. So it's very possible that Tank, as you can see there, will also overreach and also throws his back foot off of the floor. Some of the feints that, some of the faults that these guys have, they actually share. There again, you see it. Look how long it's taken Tank to reset after that particular shot. Let's rewind that for a second. In that particular instance, Rolly Romero wasn't thinking offensively, but I want you to look at this and imagine he throws it, he falls short, here comes a readjustment, he's square on, look how long it takes him. If he'd thrown the backhand Rolly, Tank would have eaten that flush. So this is something that Ryan Garcia could potentially look to counter with. Throw that right hand down the pipe off of the back foot. He likes to take that step back and throw that left hook as you step in, but the right hand down the pipe could also be there for him. But going back to Tank Davis's footwork, he's very, very good at luring a guy in. And what he likes to do is set his feet like there. He'll move and then set at the right moment. So he gets you rotating, and just at the right moment, he tends to throw that power shot. And this is something you've got to be very careful of if you're Ryan Garcia, because if your back foot is not on the floor and you've distributed your weight onto the front foot and you've yet to reset as he's turning you, Tank will line you up with big shots. This is a very good tactic from Tank, and I believe it's one he'll use. And as you can see there, that's what caused Rolly to get knocked out, a predictable entry point. And again there you saw misdirection as he lured Barrios in and then threw the lead right hand over the top of the lead hand of Barrios. So you have to ensure that you're either moving forward or moving backwards, and being aware, using a lot of feints to stop Tank from being able to set his feet as he's getting you rotating in order to let go of those shots. So let me show you how you open up Tank with feints and effective pressure. I want you to look at these various examples of Tank reacting to the initial feint. You see that there? He's bringing his hands down, and he likes to change the level, Tank Davis. He likes to lower himself when he gets in trouble, as you can see there. And so what happens is there's the feint. You see that? So what happens is you are baiting him, basically. You're making him think he's about to defend a shot. That was beautiful throwaway shot there from Rolly before that lovely left hook. He's reacting to the first punch. So what's important is that you don't just go in straight lines and start being predictable, looking for the same old left hooks. You've got to use a lot of variation. You can see there as well that combination, that 1-2-1, that jab right hand followed by the jab. It's a very good combination that seems to work on Tank, because Tank will often roll, twist inside to catch a shot with his backhand. And as he's twisting inside to catch it, he's leaving himself open to the follow-up shot that comes down the pipe. Kovalev loved that combination. With him, it was more of a 2-1. He could also throw a 1-2-1. Either can potentially work against Tank Davis. So you need to use a lot of variation, a lot of foot pressure, and a lot of feints. And you can have success against Tank. You can open him up with feints and effective pressure. And make no mistake, Ryan Garcia does have a bit of that in his arsenal. Here you can see, for instance, with Targo, you'll see a couple of examples with Fortuna as well. He's not just coming in recklessly. There, the few little stutter steps and shuffles, and then comes in furiously and then gets back out quickly. Here you see how Targo bends down and Ryan just pulls out a little bit. This is vital when you're facing Tank Davis. There as well. Tank is very dangerous when he changes the level and comes in at a crouch, because that is when he is at his most dangerous, because he launches from that crouch. And by being too close and standing tall, something that Ryan can often do and keep his hands a bit low, you're ahead on a stick. So you need to come low with the opponent if he's going to crouch down, and you're going to hold your feet and trade with him. And because Tank tends to like to throw individual pot shots, there's a reason that Canelo Alvarez is such a big fan of his, right? They're quite similar in their philosophy of operation. Because Tank likes to do that, it's okay for you to trade with Tank. A lot of people are afraid of doing that. You shouldn't be, because Tank does like to square up, and he can put himself in vulnerable positions. And because he's a pot shotter, if you're putting yourself in positions where you're throwing combination punches, you can have success. However, he does have one punch knockout power. So you need to be sporadic with when you hold your feet, and often tie up if you're capable of doing that. But Tank is very good at preventing himself being tied up. But additionally to that, you also have to get low. You have to crouch at the legs. You cannot stand tall the way Ryan Garcia does. Now, the reason I paused it on the Fortuna clip here is because I want to show you exactly how Ryan goes on to finish Fortuna, because there's some lovely stuff here. There is a lot of that misdirection, a lot of those feints to open up the opponent in the way he will have to do with Tank, as well as being mindful of distance control, being careful that if he crouches in any way or sets his feet, Ryan's not in a position where he walks onto a shot. This is all very good, but when he eventually does let go of his hands, watch how the back foot squares up. He's on the weight distribution of that lead foot. He's in trouble potentially, and he ends up catching the attempted counter hook from Fortuna. And he lands his own left hook, which is so fast you don't even see it in this clip, and that drops Fortuna. But if you saw from the earlier clip how Tank stopped Rolly, there were some similarities there. So Ryan has to be very careful here. So he steps in. You can see he's being a little bit careful about coming in. A few hand feints. He's stepping a bit back there. He's not letting go of his hands. Now he's going to start letting go of his hands. And did you see that? It was so fast. But watch the back foot. There. See how it comes off the floor? And now watch his right hand. There. He catches it. So he could have been caught by Fortuna. But as he catches it, he also throws the left hook. That's what drops Fortuna. So Tank could really be in danger as he's letting go of his own shots. But ultimately, Ryan was a sitting duck here. And he got kind of lucky that he caught that shot there. I mean, it looks brilliant, defensively speaking, but you're running red lights. There he is again when he's sudden, and he's following up with that 2-1, right? That 1-2-1 combination, something that we showed you earlier as well. Barrios had success with against Tank Davis. So you've got to get him moving backwards, Tank, not setting. And that's why the second phase of attack can work, because he can get himself out of position. He can also lean to his own left when he's doing that. So the left hook to the body is potentially open, as is the uppercut if he seeks to change levels and duck forward. That's when Ryan's on the front foot. When Ryan's on the back foot, he has to be able to use his range, narrow his feet so that he can exit the pocket quickly and be able to time Tank on his entry, make Tank overreach, make him lunge. Ryan's got all these things in his arsenal, but he does make a lot of mistakes. And in terms of mistakes, here's an example of what he cannot afford to do. I want you to look at the weight distribution. You see how he's lent onto that lead foot again? And here he's doing well in the sense that he's seen his opponent crouch and he's stepping back, but the minute he throws that right hand, that big counter shot comes back. And again here, as he's looking to step back, he's so reliant on that one left hook. Let's rewind that. He's so reliant on that one left hook, what we spoke about earlier, about how he wants to wing in that wide left hook. He's opened up completely his body and he misses. Now look at the position that he's in. Completely off balance and out of position. Now you don't want to be in that position against Tank Davis because Ryan Garcia doesn't really have an inside game. He will just seek to push Tank away, potentially tie him up if he's been working on a clinch game, but like I said earlier, Tank's hard to tie up on the inside. So this is a potentially dangerous situation for Ryan, even if he's getting the game plan right. He has to be very, very good on the night. Can he win the fight? Well, Barrios was 3 points up at the point where he got dropped twice in the 8th round. He needs to look at Barrios's performance and understand how Barrios was using his feet very well to maximize distance, threatening to come in and not coming in, other times being a little bit more disguising with his entry point. When he would go for it, he would let his hands go. But Barrios doesn't have the athletic attributes of Ryan, and he certainly doesn't hit as hard as Ryan Garcia. So Ryan could potentially be punishing Tank for those things. The thing is, though, Barrios is a better technical boxer than Ryan Garcia. And so at some stage, I do expect that Ryan will make errors that Tank will be able to capitalize on. In addition to that, Tank has managed to drain Ryan Garcia to 136 pounds. Let's be honest here. A lot of people don't want to talk about that. But it's not so much the 136 pounds. It's more the rehydration clause and the afternoon weigh-in date that could play a real issue here. When it came to 136 pounds, I have a sneaky suspicion that Ryan was actually comfortable making that. But he came out publicly after chasing the fight for a while, saying, yeah, for the fight to happen, I can only make 140. Very soon after that, Team Davis approached him and said, okay, we'll make it at 136. And instantly, Ryan Garcia accepted the fight. It was almost as though it was bait. I got you now. I knew I'd be able to publicly bait you into taking the fight. Now he keeps going on about being dehydrated and stuff like that, but we've learned about rehydration clauses, which I've spoken about in this channel as being very, very dangerous and should be banned from boxing. And the afternoon weigh-in is significant because when you wake up in the morning, you go to the loo, you don't drink any water, you're at your lie test, you can go and have your weigh-in and you can start to replenish your liquids. If you have to wait till the afternoon, you're essentially unable to eat again or drink again from the moment you wake up. You have less time to then replenish. I know a lot of people talk about the IBF rehydration clause of 10 pounds. The difference is, though, you are in theory in a weight category that's more natural to you, so you're not necessarily needing to rehydrate that much. Whereas Ryan Garcia could really struggle here. And if he does start to tire towards the end of the fight, because he doesn't have a great inside game or clinch game, he's not going to be able to nullify Tank Davis. And Tank will show that dog and he will try to really let go of his hands if he's losing the fight. And we know he's got the power to take Ryan out. And because Ryan can be standing tall at times as well, and when he throws that left hook, he almost turns his back. He could be a sitting duck for a left hook directly on the button. So how do I think this fight will go? I think it's either Ryan Garcia to win the fight on points or Tank Davis to get him late. I think Ryan will build up a bit of a lead here. I think he'll be too active for Tank Davis. But as Tank gets desperate and starts to let go of his hands a little bit more, I won't be surprised if he ends up clipping Ryan. And I think that's actually the most likely outcome. I think Tank Davis by late stoppage is the most likely outcome. But I really do think Ryan has a fantastic chance of winning the fight on points. Ryan's also got the power to be able to knock him out early too, right? But it would be a shock to me. It would have to be a wonderful shot that lands at the perfect timing, because I actually think this is going to be a cagey fight early on. I think Tank will get on his bike and attempt to lure Ryan in, have sporadic success, but be getting outworked. And ultimately, towards the end of the fight, he will have to start putting his foot on the gas. The only thing I will say is that because Ryan fights so tall and pulls back out of shots, he could be getting caught with shots that he's actually rolling away from or not having massive impact. And it will look to the observer that he's getting his head snapped back. So I wouldn't be surprised as well if we end up getting some scorecards that are all over the place, where some people are saying, yeah, Ryan was outworking him, but Tank was snapping his head back and landing the more effective punches. It could be one of those sorts of fights. Let me know what you think, ladies and gents. Please don't forget to hit a stiff jab on the like button, a right cross on the subscribe button, and an uppercut on the notifications button. Thanks for watching, everyone. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.